Welcome, everyone, back to another edition of Virtue and Vice, brand of wrestling, right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined with my co-host with the most, the remarkable Robbie Vice. What's up?
Oh, my God. Hey, hi. Man, I feel like it's been forever. We did one of these last week, though, didn't we?
No, we skipped last week.
Oh, we did. That's why it feels like that. Well, a lot has happened in the past few weeks. A lot of big moves have happened, and I feel like maybe people are putting too much emphasis on them. And I think you have a similar opinion to me. But I'm good. Just doing a bunch of holiday stuff right now, getting all that shit done. All of my holiday shopping is complete as of a few days ago, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. What's new with you, Mr. Virtue? What's going on in wrestling? What's going on with you?
My holiday shopping's complete, too. I didn't get anybody anything.
Nice. Well, you have no reason to give Vito anything after what he did to you, man.
God. No, but you know what? He needs to make up to me. And so we're going to see if we can merge our show with Getting Color, and you, Vito, and I, every week, give the people what they want. 3 different mindsets. Vito, who was in the business, me, who's only dabbled in indie, and then you, Robbie Vice, with your polarizing opinions. Let's see what happens going forward. But before then, we still have a Virtue and Vice brand of wrestling to get through. And what I want to talk about is Wednesday, AEW versus NXT. So NXT won the ratings. 3 out of the last 4 weeks or so. But what bothered me the most is when I look at my Twitter and I see fans say, right now I know that it's the internet era, right? Everybody reads dirt sheets. Everybody wants to know the business. They want to know. Fans get more excited for people getting pushes and who's going to get a push than they actually do enjoying watching the shows. And I think because of that, that's why they like the matches so much, because it's like they get all of their story stuff from the internet. So on TV, I just want to watch wrestlers work. But like Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho, all Jungle Boy had to do was last 10 minutes. That was the gimmick. And he lasted 10 minutes. And now fans, I see so many people saying Jungle Boy's made. Jungle Boy's going to be a star. Now, the people that said going to be a star, okay. But there were people that said Jungle Boy was made. How? Okay. And then likewise on NXT, because Rhea Ripley, who I'm not a big NXT watcher, and when you say Rhea Ripley, to me, she's still one of the new ones, right? Because I'm used to Shayna Baszler and the people that have been there, Candice LeRae and whatnot. But now all of a sudden, because she beat Shayna Baszler, who had the title for over a year, Rhea Ripley's already a star. Do fans not realize what a star means? Like, they hear these terms, but what's your take? Like, Jungle Boy is made, Rhea Ripley is made. You're talking about 2 wrestling shows, a minor league show, a startup company who's trying to be WCW, sharing 1.4 million people, drawing 6, 7, 800,000 apiece. Nobody's made. I mean, you have Chris Jericho on your show and you're drawing 683,000. Without him, you'd be half of that. So what's your take? What is your take on these fans that want to believe the next star is made because they won a match or they hung 10 minutes? This drives me nuts.
I have 2 opinions on this. One, I think you're right with Jungle Boy, because I think this was a good stepping stone for him. This was the start to becoming made. I think people are looking at him lasting 10 minutes though in the bad version of the Walls of Jericho, not the Lion Tamer. They're looking at this like the Stone Cold Steve Austin and the sharpshooter with the blood going down his face. It's like this memorable thing. And in fact, no one's really going to talk about this, 6 months from now. But it's a good start to a program if they build him correctly. Now, Rhea Ripley, the more I think about it, I think she is more of a star. And the only reason I say that is because she now holds that belt. And this would have been like a good defense, and she would have had a game, Rhea Ripley shows up. But I think since she won the title, she's had a little bit of a push. I would say that night made Rhea Ripley, but I would not go so far as to say that Jungle Boy is now made, because I think this is the first step in a long journey for him.
See, nobody to me is made until and I know they need a platform to do it. They need to push. Yeah. But until they're raising ratings, selling merch, and it's hard to be number 1 merch. So being up on the top of the merch charts, top 3, top 4, top 5. So like once I see a superstar at that level, then I will say, wow, they're made. I guess I'm so used to like Andre and Hogan, right? Nobody was made in that, but Andre putting Hogan over said, well, Hulkamania is going to be here for years. And look what happened. WrestleMania 3, Hulkamania lasted 7 years. Austin and Michaels at WrestleMania 14. Austin had all that momentum, but he finally won the big one and got the big title. Shawn handed the Attitude Era over to Stone Cold on a silver platter. Yes, he had a back injury, but Stone Cold now was made, and the big feud with Vince took off. That, that's what I need. Not Jungle Boy lasting 10 minutes with Jericho. Not Rhea Ripley winning a minor league title. And yeah, it's a big deal to a lot of fans, but not to think about it. NXT's only drawing 700,000-800,000. Raw's still doing 2 million. SmackDown a little bit more. There's still room to be desired for NXT.
Sure,
right? It's a niche.
I would say I don't disagree with you. I don't agree with you, but I think that's just one of the differences of someone who's worked in the industry and made money, which you have from wrestling.
Peanuts, but yeah.
Sure, but more than I have.
This right here, though.
Right. But I'm saying, as someone who's I've watched it most of my life, I would say I'm not quite a hardcore fan. I definitely watch probably more than the average person does, but I view it as it was a good thing. But I can see where you're coming from, because if you look at it from a merch standpoint, or am I going to buy a pay-per-view because of Rhea Ripley after this? No. So, I definitely see where you're coming from on that.
Now, I just recently heard this rumor, so it's a rumor. And if it's by the person that who I'm talking about that I heard this from, I don't count it.
Sure.
Velveteen Dream is an entrant in the Royal Rumble 2020. Right. And they put him over. An NXT guy comes into the Rumble and wins it, and he gets a main event shot at Mania. Then, Velveteen's made. Remember I kept saying Velveteen's a secret weapon in Vince McMahon's pocket. He's always like those. Yeah. He's always like those Shawn Michaels, those Chris Jericho, homoerotic type characters. I mean, he pushed Goldust, not to the main event, but he gave Goldust a lot of TV time.
Yeah, he did.
The Hollywood backlot brawl with Piper on Mania. I mean, that was the O.J. Simpson era. So I can see Dream get this push, but to me, he needs to win the Rumble. And if what goes on to Mania, whether he wins or loses, your next star is made. But these little niche fans saying Jungle Boy lasted 10 minutes, he's made. Rhea Ripley beats Shayna Baszler. It's I think that the fans today are looking at it completely different to how old school me looks at it. And
that's fair.
Give me an example. Not the two cases that I just said, but give me an example of how a star could be made with anybody in wrestling today. Off the cuff. I mean,
how you could make one?
Somebody on the main roster, somebody that you maybe like.
Yeah,
how do you make the next Triple H? Or not the next Triple H, but that type of character? What would you do to say they were made? Who would you have them beat and when?
I would say, take your example with Velveteen Dream. I say Velveteen Dream. They never actually get into a fight. It's him and Seth Rollins for a 2-month build to Mania, where they never actually can catch each other. It's just a bunch of things like they did in the Attitude Era, and you have Velveteen Dream overcome and win clean. I think that builds a moment. I think that's how you make a star. That's how you would make the next star. They have to beat someone who is credible, and who more credible now on the main roster than Seth Rollins, who's beaten the Beast twice. He's overcome odds. He's obviously a leader of a good faction right now, and we know he's in the boss of the boss. So even us hardcore fans will buy into it, because we're like, wow, if Vince and Triple H are saying that he's going to beat their guy, then I think there's something special. Whereas the casual fans will say, that guy just beat Seth Rollins, and I watched him beat Brock Lesnar. So now he's a big deal on both fronts.
I got another one for you. Making stars. Now, I'm not going to pick Marco Stunt. There is no making this guy.
No, you don't.
But Orange Cassidy, hands in the pockets. Now, we see what he does, right? I hate the light kicks, the niche fans get up.
Yeah.
So say they signed Enzo Amore, and you put him in a feud against Orange Cassidy. Those fans that love Orange hate Enzo.
That's right.
Heel. And you build them a huge program, and then Enzo puts pockets, like Cornette likes to call them, over. Could then maybe you and I say Enzo, a star was made? I mean, it's still hard for but casuals like Enzo, and casuals might watch a match with Orange Cassidy if it's against Enzo, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
would
true.
something like
I'd
that
watch it.
could that make a star, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, yeah, no, I think absolutely. Um, because it accomplishes two things. You're satisfying both sides. And that's what old feuds used to do, is the really smart fans, and I don't even know if I want to call them smart because they just think, guys like Janela Stunt and Orange Cassidy are the next big thing. But if you put over Orange Cassidy, you're making most of their hardcore fans very happy. And I think you're creating buzz, which is going to make the company happy. And that buzz is going to create more fans, casual fans, who look at this Orange Cassidy guy and see how nonchalant he is. And they're going to like him. Dude, when I was younger, I liked Buff Bagwell because I thought he was an asshole. I thought he was hilarious.
Dude, he had the hat with his photo on it.
Yeah, and he just kept saying, I am so incredible, and flexing at the camera. As a 12, 13-year-old man, I thought that was the best. So I think you could get something similar with Mr. Pockets.
Dude, and they're pushing Dark Order. So you're telling me you can't bring in Enzo and Cass? Now, I know Cass is at DDP Yoga working on those demons, whatever. But, like, say he gets right, dude. There is money. Cass versus Janela, Enzo versus Marco Stunt and the smaller guys.
They have real life people,
like,
don't they? Janela and
money,
them?
Rob.
Yeah.
They need star power. And Cass and Enzo had the WWE platform, and they were up there in merch. I know you tell me they're like, I just can't believe it. I can't, and maybe Enzo doesn't go anywhere without Cass right now, but like, how are these guys, like, you work it out, like, because maybe in the contract you say, well, if you act up or you do this or that, we can terminate your contract. Make these guys have to behave. Money on the table. What happened? Back in the day, they did it. You would see, right, and everybody that had heat came back at some point, right? In one of the companies. What happened to that? Why are there people blackballed in wrestling? Why is Vince Russo not a writer? Why is Jim Cornette having to go home because of a joke he said? Why is
Vince Russo? I don't think wants to. Does Russo really want to do that? Like, because I know from everything I've seen from him, he's like, if they would let me do it from home so I could see my family.
Yes, but that's what I meant. Why, like, the guy had good ratings. Why would like any company not hire him as a Skype once a week, twice a week? They meet on Skype, talk for an hour or two, and he helps them book their shows. They still ultimately have the final say. But like Cornette should be commentating, right? A heel like him in today's culture getting heat, there should be no cancel culture after him. That is bullshit. And of course, Enzo and Cass, right, for whatever their problems have been backstage. Well, because fans know what happens backstage now. Enzo and Cass don't deserve jobs. Bullshit. Like, I hate this culture. And these are people that would make TV compelling, Rob. And there's other ones, Ryback. I know he's battled a lot of injuries. But, like, beyond CM Punk,
controversy makes money, man.
There are names other than CM Punk out there, Luke Harper now, that can make certain wrestling shows interesting depending on what happens. Now, I know these performers have to want to do it, right? Just because they become a free agent, Luke Harper would have to want to go do something. Maybe he wants to go home and just work local indies. But, like, come on. I mean, it's business, especially WWE. We get NXT is a constant revolving door, right? And sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. AEW right now, more than ever, needs more stars. They're just throwing people out there in the Dark Order that can't even throw worked punches on camera in front of a national TV audience.
Let me ask you this, though. Would AEW have benefited more from having actual jobbers come out to build up people before they start taking losses to each other?
Yeah. I mean, maybe on AEW Dark, but it seems like they do AEW Dark to put longer matches on to give the diehards more of a, like, come on.
And are they really resetting the rankings every year? Because that's dumb. If that does it, then there's no point.
And all those offers won't be offer anymore. They'll be
So does that story end?
Well, that's a bad Bischoff idea that he tried to implement in NXT. Now, I know he has nothing to do with AEW, but, like, you can't do wins and losses. No, when he was in TNA, when Bischoff was in TNA, they tried to implement a win-loss system.
They had a similar like ranking system in WCW, if I remember from when I was a kid, where they would be like,
"That's probably Bischoff."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It must be a Bischoff thing, and apparently it doesn't work.
Yeah. And there's so many wrestlers out there. Like Vito and I were talking the other day. Like Corey Graves has a brother, Sam Adonis.
Yeah.
Sam Adonis is a great name. Sam Adonis, right? Now I'm sure if he went to AEW, he could use that name. If he went to WWE, they'd probably call him Joe Schmo. I want he had a Trump gimmick in Mexico when he worked AAA in some of those Mexico shows to get the heat, right? So this guy gets it, right? But because it's cancel culture and Trump's so polarizing, this guy kind of got blackballed. Now he does indie shows, but like I looked at him, he's bigger than Corey Graves. Kind of reminds me of a young Billy Gunn. And Vito and I are like, why in the hell is this guy not in NXT or WWE? Corey Graves is there. Get your brother in.
Right.
Why? Like, there is talent out there. I will never know. Like, why is Brian Cage stuck in Impact? This guy's can do lucha style, but looks exactly like Bobby Lashley. I just don't get, like I said, why. And you know, maybe you piss off a couple promoters that have influence. Maybe that's what it is. But like, there's talent out there. And back in the day, Rob, when we were growing up, 80s, 90s, if you could draw heat, whether you were a heel or babyface heat, you landed in one of the big companies, which was WCW, NWA, WWF, and then ECW. And sometimes you went from one to the other to the other. Now it's like there's some people, and there's so many TV products. When I see guys like Sam Adonis not on a TV product, since there's so many of them, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
How is he not on TV and Jelly Janela and Marco Stunt have TV time?
How is he not in WWE if he's Corey Graves' brother? Like, is Graves afraid? Is Graves like, oh, my career ended because of concussions and I have to be an announcer and get, fake heat from my podcast? Bring your brother in, and who cares if he becomes a bigger star than you ever were? Like, and we don't know. I mean, maybe they have heat. Maybe, family has heat too. Who knows? But like, I'm just sitting there thinking, politics, man. Like, come on. You still, I don't care if there's heat, right? Or somebody's a bad seed. Business people have to take chances. That's how you make money. And I don't see many chances being made. Do you? Where are the new names, the buzz in AEW? Like, a lot of old WCW fans or people that wanted a good alternate to WWF, WWE, where are those names in AEW? You would think, like, the CM Punk train looks like it's gone. You got Ryback out there. You got Enzo. You got Cass. They didn't land Morrison. I'm not saying they have to sign a lot of people, but where the fuck is, like, one or two big free agents? Now, they brought in Hager early.
Well, Marty Scurll also, didn't he go to NWA recently?
Yeah. Like,
he
had a pretty big following with the one,
and
all that, Villain Club and all that. Like, and he could be he was part of the Elite, I think, or the Bullet Club at one point.
He was in the Bullet Club, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, Tony Khan giving stunners and a female referee giving stunners.
Yeah, that was
Sean
dumb.
Spears. Now, okay, it wasn't on the main show, but it still made its way on the internet.
The referee should obviously never have offense in, because that just if a
referee
less. I don't even care. I don't even care if it's a female referee. I'll draw the line at referee, because a referee, if any referee can just give you a stunner and you're dead, then why aren't they competing for championships? Why aren't they not referees? Why would they make $50,000 where they can make millions of dollars as a champion in kayfabe, right? So
Tony Khan, dude, and that's one thing too.
Well, he's the biggest mark in the world.
As a heel indie manager, and I'm a small guy, and I'm not supposed to be a worker. I mean, unless it's wrestlers doing my dirty work for me or me hitting someone in the back with a kendo stick, I don't do stuff that would not be believable for someone. Like, I wouldn't go to a wrestler and put a move on them, because I don't do that. I'm the manager.
So you're saying you're not going out there doing Canadian destroyers off the top rope through 6 tables?
Yeah, to tickle me Elmos, Vito. I'm not going to. Vito's like, push me. Come on, what do you got? Yeah, you're bigger than me, Vito. I'm not going to push you. And he still kicked my ass. We talked about that on the last show. That's another reason why I want him on here weekly, because I want to put him in his place every week, own him in debate, and then make him cry and apologize to me on a weekly basis. So hopefully Rob, Vito, and I get this Getting Color thing off the
I would
ground.
like that. I think that'd be fun. Random question to someone that's an insider. What would happen to you if you were at a live event as a manager and you just no-sold everything? What would happen to you?
I mean, I would the wrestlers, they would give me heat, and then I probably wouldn't get booked again after that. I'd be immediately taken off whatever bookings I had after that from that promoter.
You don't think they would try to give you a stiff bump?
Well, see, I'm not going to, I wouldn't know. So, that's not my, so I can't
I understand
that.
Yeah.
But, knowing some of the guys, Yeah, like I mean, if you started doing it out there and they're like, "What the fuck's going on?" You know, they'd whisper in your ear.
You start
Yeah,
doing the Hogan stuff. Like,
oh yeah. But like I don't think that way, Rob, because
know.
I would
I know.
never shit on the business that way.
Right.
Even though we talk about the behind the scenes and we talk about it on podcasts, when I'm doing a show, whether it's in front of 80 people, 180 people, 200 people, or if it was a big show like Vito would do, thousands of people, I'm going to protect the business. I'm a little manager. If somebody does something to me, I'm knocked out the rest of the time.
Right.
Or if I come to, I'm crying or I'm delusional. Like I remember when Razor Sharp beat me in more or less a squash match. I remember I had my two guys from the Army holding me up, but I was beat up. And what did I do? I had my arm in the air. Did I win? Right? But everybody knows I got my ass kicked. So that was a hard question because I would never not sell. You know what I mean?
I just didn't know what the consequences were for some of these indie guys.
You
I
get
always wondered
potatoes,
what kept
you get
them from.
stiffed. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like if guys go into business for themselves.
Yeah, and it gets really awkward. Like, you ever see the Regal and Goldberg match from Nitro?
Oh yeah.
And Goldberg's really modest about that. Like Goldberg's like, I got lost, and but like if you look, you could tell Regal was like what the fuck, man? You're gonna get pushed in the main event, and I'm out here with you, and you know Regal kind of started ribbing him. You get ribbed, and it could mean you get a stiff shot.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. I mean, you know, again, when stars are made, like they have to be made, not just get a minor league title or last 10 minutes with a wrestler. And I get so angry with today's wrestling culture online, and I know you do too. When I see every event, like, oh dude, I'm dreading Wrestle Kingdom that overnight because I'm dreading looking at my Twitter feed when I wake up that morning.
It's gonna be a bunch of hyperbole.
We know Jericho's, I think he's wrestling Tanahashi, so he's gonna be there. Yeah, I'm like 80% sure they were setting that up, but like I just dread that. Like every event, wrestling fans have to. This was the best. You know what I mean? Like, but is it really the best? When you see so much of the same stuff, how do you know it's better than the Meltzer? When you see Omega and Okada over and over again, how do you know this one's better than this one? Especially if you're just a fan watching it.
They all turn into 1997 Tony Schiavone, and everything is the greatest night in the history of this sport.
Yeah, but and who else used to do that? It's the greatest night ever. They used to do that for Mania. This was the best WrestleMania ever.
Right? Yeah.
But,
they still.
But
do
from a marketing standpoint, that's okay. But like, I don't know. I digress. We already filmed the No DQ review earlier, so I'm spent, dude. So
that's fine by me. Yeah.
Bring it.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at NoDQVice. Let me know, am I the smartest guy in the room or am I the smartest guy in the room? Make sure you follow me on everything that I do, which is only Twitter, but keep telling me how good I am. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I hope everyone has a good, safe holiday, a good, safe New Year. Don't drink and drive. It's always better to take a taxi. That's my little responsibility piece for the holidays. And Mr. Virtue, why don't you take us home on our last show of the year?
Of course. Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. Check Rob and I out on the No DQ review over on NoDQ.com. I think we got to do a show for Andre soon too, so we got to remember to do that.
Yeah. We
but,
should.
Go check out the BigVitoBrand.com, BigVito.com, Vito, whatever on Twitter. Noel, you're cool still. And that's about it. So for Robbie Vice, I'm Virtue. This has been Virtue and Vice, Brand of Wrestling. We'll see you next year. Yeah, next year.
Indeed.
I'm thinking like Austria or Germany. Sounds like Sound of Music. What about you, Big?
Downtown New Jersey.
Let's sing a song about New Jersey.
Very specific.
Every time I say something, I get in trouble.
I didn't say anything. I just narrated the fact that you said downtown New Jersey, a very specific location where a food box that's foods from around the world.
Make their nest in the Garden State. Horses on the farms, horses at the gate. They're working a race in the Garden State. The honeybee's job is to pollinate the beautiful plants of the Garden State. So the violet flower can permeate the fields and trails of the Garden State.